Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. It's Wednesday. It's the middle of the week, and you're almost done. Congratulations to you. You've done a great job this week. I'm Roth Cornet, and I'm here to inspire you today. Dan Murrell is here to inspire me.
Oh.
Get ready.
Wow.
Spencer Gilbert is here to just dampen all our dreams. He's there to be like the, what is it that they...
Wet blanket?
Yeah, the mud that they dump on brush fires. Joe Starr is here to bring it...
Spencer, the mud they dump on brush fires.
Joe Starr is here to bring it all back again with a positive spin on whatever Spencer had to say. He's actually my favorite. Let's move on. That's why I can tease him.
You managed to offend everyone but Joe somehow already. Nicely done.
No, I thought I was her favorite.
No, now we're all offended.
You're my favorite. Every single one of you. Why? Because that's how I eat. I'm in a mood today, but we're going to talk about The Irishman first and foremost. I'm very excited about this. This is a long-awaited Martin Scorsese Netflix film, which a lot of people have been talking about over the last couple of years because of the increasing budget. It was like every time you turned around, The Irishman had spent another $10 million somehow. I think it's now at $190, $200 million like budget. Yeah. Probably largely due to the de-aging that they did on DeNiro for this and the other actors. This is Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, ladies and gentlemen. Al Pacino! Joe Pesci, Harvey Keitel. It is the greatest hits of the
mafia movie.
Mafia movie. Yeah, no, really, like all together at once.
This is the Muff Spendables.
This is the Muff Spendables. So September 27th, 2019, it's going to debut at the New York Film Festival because New York, am I right? And then it's going to have...
I love walking in Spider-Man!
You took my hot dog! I'm from New York, so I can give it a little...
Here's a pizza!
I can give it a little love.
It's the 5 boroughs, right? Brooklyn, the Bronx, Manhattan, Queens...
Staten
Island.
And Spider-Man watches them all.
You know what the boroughs are outside of Manhattan are called by Manhattanites?
No.
Bridge and Tunnel. So if you go to a club, you're like, oh, we're not going to that club because that's Bridge and Tunnel. Bridge and Tunnel means you had to take a bridge or tunnel to get to it. And that's how people are assholes. Because I love all of New York, all of the boroughs.
It's like how Spencer won't come to visit me because I live in the Valley.
It's traffic. Yeah. That's the only reason.
It's true. It's the exact same thing. I live in the Valley, too. I lived in Brooklyn and Roosevelt Island, if you guys have heard of that. You haven't. It's this big. It's 2 miles long.
If you've seen The Purge.
I'm going to bring us back.
The last Purge movie, you've heard of Roosevelt Island.
Yeah.
Oh, that's where they chose
That's where they
experiments.
chose. That's where they chose the experiment.
That's a Roth.
Wait, really?
Yes. Yeah, but I really want to keep us on track. But Dan is forcing me to say.
I'm not making fun of it. It's just true.
No, it is true.
That's pretty
Dan
amazing.
is forcing me to say that this is a place that had like famous mental institutions that burned down and ruins and prisons that we used to play in the ruins of as kids. It's very, very haunted. And on top of that, it was, in fact, as I was growing up, I found out later from a friend who was studying sociology, a government-funded social experiment. So that should explain a lot if you've tuned into the show before. But we are going to talk about The Irishman right now.
And then MK Ultra.
This is sort of Netflix's clearly the big prestige play this year. They're probably looking for a lot of Oscar love out of this. It looks fantastic to me. The basic synopsis is this is about Robert De Niro's character is a hitman who was friends with Jimmy Hoffa and some speculate was responsible for his famous disappearance in 1975. It looks amazing. So it sort of travels through the greatest hits of his hits. That's literally what the movie is. The guy's looking back at his life and you remember when I killed that guy?
Yeah.
That was a story. Want to hear it? Here it is. Dan?
Yeah.
Doesn't it look amazing?
I mean, I know there's a hot take about Martin Scorsese that was going around Twitter last week.
There was?
Oh. There was an article that came out about Leonardo DiCaprio that said that he had built a career without being in any superhero films. And then somebody had subtweeted that and said that, like, well, Martin Scorsese and Quentin Tarantino films are basically just white male film nerd franchises. And then that just sort of devolved into people saying, like, yeah, Martin Scorsese needs to work with an editor who respects him enough to say that you need to take an hour out of every film. It's like, you're talking about Thelma Schoonmaker? One of the best editors. Yeah, no. There were some hot, blazing hot, spicy takes about Martin Scorsese last week, and they were all, in my opinion, completely wrong. First of all, Martin Scorsese's filmography is not just Goodfellas and Wolf of Wall Street. But this does play to...
Hugo's delightful.
Martin Scorsese.
And a good use of 3.
Let's Dan finish, and I'm going to have something to say about somebody who said something about Thelma. Go ahead.
Right, yes, one of the best editors of all time.
Yeah.
This does play to recurring themes in a lot of Martin Scorsese's work, amongst many other themes. But I mean, come on, this is like it's like the Mount Rushmore of a Martin Scorsese movie. You got Joe Pesci. I looked up. This is Joe Pesci's 4th movie in 21 years. Like, the guy doesn't just come out of the woodworks to do any old movie.
No.
You got Pesci, Scorsese, De Niro, Pacino, Keitel. Yeah, I mean, the historical backdrop, and that's the thing, is like, it's not like all the movies are the same. I love the fact that, like, yes, he plays in the themes of crime and organized crime, but they all have their different feels, their different vibes. Casino and Goodfellas are not the same movie, even though
nor is
they are.
Very different from Taxi Driver.
Very different from Taxi Driver, very different from Wolf of Wall Street, very different from The Departed. I'm a Scorsese fan. I love him. I cherish every one of his movies that comes out, especially now that he's in the later stages of his career. And these actors, I mean, I know that particularly De Niro and Pacino have sort of, in their later careers, done a lot of other work, but that doesn't mean that they're not amazing actors and can still be absolutely stunningly good in the right project. And I hope this is that project, and I'm excited.
If they're bringing it for anybody, they're bringing it for to reteam with Scorsese, because this is, I think, the first time that De Niro and he have been together since 1995, I think.
I think Casino was the last one movie they did together. Yeah.
So I'm very excited. Hey, whoever said that about Thelma, stop. Go read a book. She is one of the greatest editors of all time. She is 100% his collaborator, is very much credited being with a co-collaborator with him on all of those movies. And frankly, Scorsese has an incredibly diverse filmography of a director of his ilk. He's one of the few that is truly, truly, truly has a... You can note that this is a Scorsese movie, but it doesn't necessarily have one note and one tone the way some filmmakers do, where you can pick out and I mean this with all due respect, truly, Dan, Spielberg shot anywhere. You know what I mean? Like, here's the swell, and he's making me feel things. It's working every time, goddammit. But Scorsese is like king of comedy, Kundun, Last Temptation of Christ,
Silence,
After Hours, Silence.
The Last Waltz.
Very, very, The Age of Innocence. This is a man who has able to continue to test himself throughout the years, and it's probably because he keeps people around him that will say no and will argue, and that he trusts enough to listen to.
Hugo, he made a 3D kids movie. Yeah,
didn't love it, but he did. Yes,
I actually liked it. But no, this idea is, I just hated this idea of like, I'm going to judge Martin Scorsese by the fact that, you know, people put Goodfellas posters on their walls. It's like, okay, that's one of his movies.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's part of the hot takes. Sometimes the hot takes are just a little too hot.
Yeah.
I've got a hot take on this one.
Spicy.
You want to hear a spicy hot take on this?
Yep.
I think that Scorsese's run out of like compelling, more or less like verified mafia stories, and this guy Frank Sheeran, it's based on a book that came out after he died, that was told to people after he spent 13 years in prison. And he's like, yeah, I whacked Jimmy Hoffa, and I was part of the Kennedy assassination. And it's like definitely has the vibe of like an uncle who like met Mel Gibson once, but then 13 years later he's like, yeah, I beat Mel Gibson in an arm wrestling competition. And, like, we were in Lethal Weapon 5, but it got canceled.
Yeah.
Apart from that, I'm on board.
But do you need that historical accuracy to enjoy?
No, I just think it's kind of funny that, like, you know, he definitely was a guy in the mafia who then went to jail for 13 years, but then it was like all of the cool stuff, all the big,
Jimmy
like
Hoffa.
The crazy stories of Jimmy Hoffa and Kennedy and stuff like that came out long after he died.
Now that's what I call Hitman. And they're all his.
So you think it's the Forrest Gump of Hitman, Joe? Is that what you're saying? Because I felt like that's what you were saying.
Yes, I think that's pretty accurate. Yeah, sure, he's the Forrest Gump of Hitman.
And they gave me a special decoder ring so I could go to all the Hitman meetings.
Like they just put him in all of the big hits.
Yeah.
It's the greatest hits. I'm pretty excited about the movie, even if, you know, in order to be based on a true story, you only have to have 10% accuracy anyway for any movie that's based on a true story.
Who made that metric?
And how do they measure?
The law of Hollywood.
It's Holly Law.
I don't know. Who decides anything, Joe?
That's fair. I was like, is that bro a thing?
Are you a Scorsese fan?
It'd be weird to not. I don't know. He's a filmmaker where, like you were saying, with like you can. I feel like if you don't like Spielberg, you can come up with some pretty solid reasons that you don't like Spielberg. Same with like a Wes Anderson or someone who like really has their stamp. I feel like I don't like the films of Martin Scorsese is a weird. I mean, look, opinions are opinions, and it's fine. But I feel like his body of work is so varied that would be a weird opinion to have. Just like Scorsese, not a fan. I can do without.
I think the one I see the most often is he's glorifying this, like the criminal underworld and the con artists of the universe. And to that I say, if you're a dummy. Oh yeah, that's right. In the sense that he is showing that we as a society, we live in a society. We glorify these people, and he's holding up that mirror.
I think there's something to be said for folks missing the point of, like, say, noticing that everyone in The Departed is miserable and their lives are forever ruined, and just focusing on the, like, oh man, remember when he beat the crap out of him in that boatyard? Hell yeah. Like, there is a sort of a very shallow surface that you can just take from Scorsese and Coppola and, just mob movies in general. But I think if you go just even the tiniest bit deeper, like not even as far down as The Irishman buried Jimmy Hoffa, you can find
just watch the third act of his films.
Well,
finish watching them.
That's what I always like. Oh, Goodfellas and Wolf of Wall Street, they glorify it. It's like, well, they're both similar in that they are first-person narratives told by someone who's recounting his previous life, and in his telling of it and in his narrative, these were the good old days because he was living the excesses of these things. And then, as you say, the third act is all about how everything that happened before came crumbling down and ruined their lives. And so this idea of just like, well, they're glorious, it's like you're ignoring the fact that the story also, if the Wolf of Wall Street ended with like Leo, like a freeze frame was like, and I was on top forever. King. Yes, exactly. I actually think that Scorsese does a very good job of really, because it's a technique. The idea, like I remember watching the movie The Wolf of Wall Street when he actually hits Margot Robbie, when he punches her in the stomach, like that to me was such an effective turning point for that movie, because from there on out that movie becomes about the cost of all this excess. And I actually think that through that act of violence, which is horrific in the movie, and you see the consequences of that, I think that is Scorsese as a filmmaker and as a storyteller saying, like, this is where, yes, this has been about excess and glory and all of this thing, but like from here on out, this is a horror story. And by the way, this is the real consequence of this behavior, is that it has driven this man now to be a horrible person, an abusive person. So I think that sometimes I understand the concern about not wanting these things to be glorified, but I also think sometimes people take a very surface level look at things and they don't perhaps dig a little deeper and see what a film's really trying to say.
I mean, I've heard criticisms of his films that feel valid to me, and kind of how he portrays certain characters and questions around his perspective, which I think all of that is fair and everyone is welcome to have those criticisms. He is also, just in terms of the glorification, if you look at something like Taxi Driver, it's much it's rougher. Like I think it's probably, I don't even know that it's 35. Like it's probably 35, but it's like literally, I hate the way this term is used now, but the grit of the film stock is there. And that tells you something about the world and the setting in the 80s. And there is something about Goodfellas because it's coming from this perspective. It's being told from the perspective of a man who looked up to this, who it's like, if you wanted to be a rock star, it would be your version of telling your story of like, this is how I felt about rock stars and this is how I saw rock stars. And then when I was one, this is what it felt like to be one for a second. And then the reality of that comes in. So in the filmmaking, he makes it look cool. that tracking shot and things like that, because he's telling that perspective of someone who thought it was very, very cool, and then went to jail. So I think that the same thing is true of The Wolf of Wall Street. Like, they were excessive, and the movie is about that excess and glorifying that excess.
It's about, because even your example is the movie Almost Famous. It's about how you land that message in the third act, because exactly, he goes through, he loves Stillwater / Led Zeppelin, so everything looks very glamorous, very cool. He gets to feel like he's one of them for a while, but then by the end, he's trying to help Penny Lane not OD in a bathroom and has to tell a girl to her face that someone sold her for like a case of beer or something. And you watch all of these people broken as a result of all this behavior. And I don't think the negative impact of like a Wolf of Wall Street or other Scorsese films works without first showing you like the seduction of it.
Yeah. And he's also, I think, a filmmaker that's just in love with it, with that, with the process of playing with it and toying with it. And that's why he chooses different stories. And I'm curious to see what he does with that here. But if you haven't seen After Hours, you really should. It's like that's the one to me that like, it's just a very weird comedy. And it feels the most unlike all of his other films to me. Anyway, let's move on. It's been Scorsese Minute. Ding. Thank you. You know what you should thank you? You know what you should do now with that bell, Joe?
Hit it.
Yeah, you should subscribe to us.
Yeah.
If you're not already, that'd be great. Thank you so much. We also have some great stuff on Fandom Entertainment for you to read. There's a piece called How Deep Fakes Could Literally Change the Face of Movies Forever.
The Irishman is a deep fake.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Baby step away.
I don't like this stuff. I don't like this de-aging.
You don't like
de-aging?
No.
Huh.
Oh, well, let's talk about, I want to hear that perspective, de-aging. So we're not done with Scorsese Minute. Hit that bell. Thank you. But you should also read the comic book roots of Jane Foster's Thor, Love and Thunder story. Links in the descriptions below. Blah, 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 blah. Let's talk about de-aging. There were some people that were like, he should have used the FaceTime app.
That Face app, whatever it was that made us all old and sold all our data to Russia.
Why are you guys still using this stuff?
I never used it.
I didn't use any
What do you
of
mean
this
we?
stuff.
Yeah.
Well, you did it. I saw the old man you.
Yeah, but
that was just him after he had his kid.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough.
Hey,
that's fair enough. So you do or do not like the look of the de-aging?
I mean, it
looks good in this.
It looks. It's not the question of
never
the
that
look.
smooth.
Yeah,
It's the smoothing. It's like 90% there.
Yeah.
But there's still on a lot of them. There's still just that little touch of
That's
that's
a baby.
the worst. That's the worst.
That's a baby.
We've come a long way since X-Men 3,
Wow.
where it was
In
like
so many regards.
really, really poor.
Ooh, yeah,
Michael Douglas
that's not
is-
bad.
No.
It's getting better.
Yeah.
It's getting better. I think it's
His
going to
eyes
be
Certain deadness of the eyes.
There's a little, but that's just
the sustainability really of, for example, the Nick Fury de-aging.
Yeah.
And
Right there.
Captain Marvel was pretty
great,
good.
yeah.
It was pretty good. So I think that we're getting there, but there's still a bit of a
pretty
plastic. There could be a bit of a plasticky thing. Now, Gemini Man, I've heard some great stuff about. We'll see if that may be the pinnacle of it.
Should we get there though? Should we?
Are we talking about should we stop technology? Because I'm in.
I just, we already let most dude actors play 30-year-old action heroes well into their 60s and 70s, and now they actually just get to keep de-aging.
Yeah, do they not de-age women?
Oh no!
I don't think they aged up Peggy Carter a few times.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah. No, I mean plastic surgery has been doing that for a while.
Right.
Yeah.
But also, at
women
what
and
point,
men.
like, it feels like career gatekeepery to me in a way, where it's like, how do we get new DeNiros and Pacinos if they just get to keep like aging down? Like, how do we get our new Sam Jackson if Sam Jackson keeps trying to pretend run like a 30-year-old man in a Captain Marvel movie?
I mean, that's
like
interesting
this?
because it's like
different.
the industry has stopped creating movie stars. Like we know who Chris Evans is because he plays Captain America. Like we don't go to see a Chris Evans movie, whereas like we have.
I do.
I know we do, but like we have decades of a Hollywood system where it was like you went to see a movie because it's the new DeNiro movie.
Yeah.
We don't do that anymore because he's making like Dirty Grandpa 2 or whatever.
And
so we need to. We have a limited and exhausted supply of movie stars that we need to keep de-aging.
Can he now do a prequel to Dirty Grandpa, DeAged?
Yeah.
Dirty Dad.
But they're also like, currently the way they're using it, like Samuel L. Jackson didn't take a role away from another actor playing Nick Fury in Captain Marvel. They just they're using it right now for aging actors to play younger versions of characters they play in the same movie. Michael Douglas would be one of them. De Niro here is a younger version of the character that he plays in this movie. So to me, it's not quite as troubling because nobody's casting Robert De Niro in a role that is exclusively a role that's 30 years younger than Robert De Niro. And they're just like, this is 30 years younger Robert De Niro for the whole movie. It's being used right now as a tool to be like, Gemini Man is like, Will Smith is fighting his younger self. Michael Douglas is playing his younger self. De Niro's playing his younger self. So I think right now it's a tool to do flashbacks because sometimes it does take you out of a movie sometimes when they do a flashback to a character who's supposed to be 30 years younger and they just look like the same person but they dyed their hair.
Yeah. The only thing that I'll say that where I actually think that you do have a point is that one of the movies that brought De Niro to the forefront was he played Vito Corleone, the younger Vito Corleone. And if they had this technology, they wouldn't have needed De Niro necessarily to play the younger
De-aged
Vito.
Brando.
They would have de-aged Brando.
Can you imagine Brando in the DA, like...
No, because he
just
was
sitting next to an effects guy?
Perfect old Vito. Like he was the perfect like.
Oh, yeah. No, I could just imagine like this guy who was constantly playing characters and being like, maybe a Kryptonian can be a bagel, like having access to technology like this.
Right.
Do you think Coppola would have de-aged Brando, or do you think he would have said no? We're going because he's so much younger.
Yeah, he is.
Like he's like it's like 20 years,
early 20s to like late 60s or something.
No, it's true.
No
it's
one's done that gap yet.
No, not yet.
Not yet. But we will get like a Muppet Babies version of Pacino in Godfather 4.
Like he had like he had what Vito would have needed to have when he was young. I love The Godfather. I don't know if you can tell, which I don't think glorifies it at all. But my point is that he had this like wiry, desperate quality that character would have needed that De Niro probably had. He was hungry as an actor. He wanted to move forward as an actor. And so like that desperation I think worked for that character in the younger version, and older Vito was like, I'm so old and I've killed so many people, and now I'm just like fat with it, like which is where Brando was as an actor.
You couldn't have de-aged Harrison Ford for Solo, as interesting as it would have made that movie. If it was all a de-aged Harrison Ford, that would have been real bad.
I don't think we're there. I don't think we're there where it's going to be like, we're doing young Solo.
I mean, the Rubicon I think we're crossing is like, what do you do with the dead? Is because we have all this data on their performance and stuff like that. And do we make them act long after they're gone?
I mean, they've been saying that since they made Fred Astaire dance with a vacuum back in the 90s.
Yeah.
That, Hoover ad is, I agree. I mean, I know that Peter Cushing's family was just like, yeah, sure. But they're also just like, but would Peter Cushing have wanted to be a cartoon, a video game cutscene with a voice approximation?
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, that is more of a line of just like, what do you do? Because it's odd.
It is. I think that is a morally at the very least ambiguous line, because the person doesn't have. Has not granted that, they have no autonomy in that. I think we're also potentially like, when you see these cut-ups of like, what's the tool that can edit audio? Like if you have enough audio of a person. No, Pro Tools was my nightmare in college. But there's basically a tool that took, I think, some speeches from a political, like there was enough audio. Yeah.
That's still like deepfakey stuff.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
You can have them say anything.
You can have them say anything. If you have enough audio of a person, you can have them say anything. And like the very troubling thing about that is like we're just getting the point, like no one can trust anything ever. We're already there. And so that what you believe is 100%, and this is largely human nature anyway, but 100% dictated by what you want to believe. But there is no like empirical evidence, that you can trust, I think is some of the danger of these.
Yeah. I mean, it comes down to... I don't know
if that makes any...
No, it does. It comes down to the nature of man, because like that technology you were talking about, Roger Ebert...
Technology scares me.
Technology scares me, but it's because it's in the hands of us.
And we're all Terminators.
Yeah, like Roger Ebert was trying to use that technology that you're speaking about before he passed away to basically they took all of his recorded interviews, reviews, and were trying to make a speech simulator for him so that he could type words in and it would speak in his own voice. And so he could speak for himself to the degree that he could before he died. If you're going to use technology that way, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we're us, and we don't do that. We choose to do it to, do the terrible things that humanity does. They made a whole series about it. It's called Black Mirror. If you haven't heard about it. You heard about this? You heard about this Black Mirror?
This has been your existential minute. Yeah. And these are the thoughts that happen in my mind at the end of a day. Yeah, I was driving up, and no, you know what? We won't talk about the recession. I will talk about fan questions.
Which one?
The one that's coming.
The looming one.
The looming one. Fan questions. Do we have like a fun?
Nah.
Is there any?
We used to.
We'll, great. This is via the community tab. Thank you for participating in our fan questions. We appreciate it. This is from Dante Centella. In honor of IndieWire's list of top performances and films of the 2010s, what performance or film has stood out to you as the most in the 2010s? Hashtag Oscar for Tony. Let us dive in.
Tony Collette, obviously. Hashtag an Oscar for Tony.
Yeah. 100%. Oscar for Tony, still sticking with it. But I will also call out another Ari Aster leading lady, which is, oh God, help me with her name. Florence Pugh. Thank you, Dan Murrell, for the assist. Florence Pugh is amazing. I highly recommend not only Midsummer, but also she was in the wrestling movie, Fighting for My Family.
Oh, okay.
And she's incredibly versatile, but in a movie called Lady Macbeth, where she is evil, and it's great. So she's an incredibly diverse actress and now Black Widow.
I mean, there's so many great ones. It's been 9 years, right? I mean, Philip Seymour Hoffman, The Master, stands out. Jake Gyllenhaal in Nightcrawler.
Oh, yeah.
Saoirse Ronan, Lady Bird, and Brooklyn. Oh, wow, you have all these already, JT. Nicely done.
He incepted it out of your head.
Yeah. Yeah, those would be my top four.
Nightcrawler is an interesting one because it's not necessarily like a performance you want to have stick with you because it's gross and screwed up and weird and bleak, but man, he dives into it. I think Gyllenhaal's kind of an underrated dude. Like, he can do Nightcrawler, and then he can do an evil mad scientist in Okja, and give them, like, even though the choices are completely different, give them both like the same like weight and like artistic attention. That said, the pig in Okja, fantastic performance, really good.
So cute.
It was so cute.
Sicario was a great.
Emily Blunt.
Emily Blunt was great.
Yeah, Emily Blunt was fantastic in that, and then just that as like a standout movie in 2010. In the 2010s, I thought did such a great job with. Just the peaks and valleys of building and relieving tension over and over again, because some movies do it really well and some movies don't know when to give you those little breaks so that you can breathe for a second. And I thought Sicario did a really good job of maintaining through the whole movie. Not movies, but Christina Applegate and Linda Cardellini in Dead to Me.
Oh my God.
Girl,
on your recommendation, girl. It is so good. You got to watch it. Okay. My one nit to pick with Okja is that I don't think it was marketed properly.
It was not.
And I sat down to watch that for a light bit of pig fun.
No.
It was not.
With my boyfriend, and he fell asleep.
Yeah.
And then when he woke up towards the end of the movie, I was sobbing, and he was like, what just happened?
What happened with pig fun?
It was a light bit of pig fun when I fell asleep.
What happened with the pig?
I think if you, one of the times that I remember watching a movie and going like, who is that? Was Lupita Nyong'o, her Oscar-winning
my
role
God, yeah.
in 12 Years. I just remember, as far as like somebody who I was not familiar with prior to the film and watching it, just going like, oh wow, like she is amazing. She was so good in that film. Jacob Tremblay.
Oh, yeah.
And Room,
Yeah.
I think, because of his age, was not considered in the awards races like Brie Larson was, who won the Oscar for that movie. I thought his performance was phenomenal, not as a child actor, but as an actor in that movie. And then Joaquin Phoenix, basically annually.
Yeah.
Her, You Were Never Really Here.
Also The Master.
Also The Master. Like, I just think that
What's up for
Joaquin
The
Phoenix
Master?
is one of those actors that just is one of the best ones that we have working today, but because he chooses to work a lot of times in smaller films.
Yeah.
Even like You Were Never Really Here is, even in a weird way, too small even for the Oscars. Didn't come out at the right time of
it
year.
came out at the beginning of the year.
It just wasn't the right thing. So I think that he is one of the most interesting actors working today.
Creed was one of my big standouts.
Yeah.
Michael B. Jordan in that movie, I think's just phenomenal. Just the intensity he delivers, the sort of just the I don't know the tunnel vision that he has on his goal, and just the sort of the nonstop. That was the movie where I was like, who the hell's this dude? And
Friday Night Lights, The Wire. I mean, come on, us real Michael B.
watch
Jordan
Friday Night
heads
Lights.
have been on him for years.
no, that's fair. That's fair. I'm late to the game. I am a fake fan. But that movie, I was just like, holy shit. And yeah, I think Creed 2 is Creed as well, not Creed 2, is probably one of my standouts of the 2010s.
I'm going to call it two other performances. Cynthia Erivo in if I'm mispronouncing, is it Erivo?
Erivo.
Erivo, great.
Bad Times at the El Royale.
Bad Times at the El Royale. She stole that movie, and that was not easy to do, because that is an incredible cast.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great ensemble piece, but she is fantastic in it. And then because you brought up child actors, there's a movie called Shoplifters.
Oh, it's so good.
So good.
So good.
So
everyone in that.
Miyu Sasaki, who's a little girl in that, I agree, I would say is similar to Jacob Tremblay, where this performance is not just like a great little kid performance, but just a great performance.
The girl they find in the street.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. The little kid.
Cute.
She had like
the least to do of all of the shots. They found her. She was very cute.
You're out of it.
No.
Go watch the movie.
You're thinking of a different.
No, I'm not. She's fantastic. Everyone in that film is fantastic.
Yes.
It's a great ensemble piece, but like a little kid in the middle of that drama and keeping it dialed in and contained is not easy. Subtle acting is hard to do.
There was subtle acting
especially
flying all over that film.
There was
and you
subtle acting in your face.
Roth, you can only pick one. That little girl or the little girl in the Florida Project.
Why would that's mean?
Wow.
I'm Old Testamenting you right now.
Which
Oh.
one?
Yeah.
There's two lead ones.
Yeah.
Oh, the smaller one.
The smaller
The
one?
smaller one.
Yeah.
All right, line up back to back. Let's see who's taller.
Smaller then or smaller
I
now?
think-
Kids grow, Joe. They could have.
By a hair, like the Florida Project, I think.
Okay, the other one,
but
has
she's
been-
great, and
The
shoplifters.
surrogate mom. Spoiler alert
Yeah.
for shoplifters,
Yeah.
I guess.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was so incredible.
yeah.
And then that other. Well, that one was. It was hard to suss out
And her
what the role of the
partner.
teenage girl was.
Yeah.
Who was working at that.
Well, you know what?
Anyways,
we'll talk
watch
about
Shoplifters.
shoplifters.
Yes.
Recommendations for you today include, but are not limited to, Shoplifters and Netflix's series
Dead to Me.
Dead to Me, which is great.
Oh, Happy Death Day, lady.
Oh my God, I was thinking of her this morning, Jessica Roth.
Yes.
And she does as a recall out, because if you're watching that movie, she's the one that makes it work, because in the sequel there's a period of time where they're focused on a different character who's fine, he's not a bad actor, but it's just kind of like, oh, I guess I'm watching this movie, and then she comes in and she takes over and you're like, I'm watching this movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's film criticism. What I just did.
I thought Happy Death Day 2
good
was one of
pull
the
quote.
most interesting movies to come out.
It was.
And people kind of wrote it off, but I
have not seen
enjoyed
it.
I thought it was a
Second one.
very interesting film.
I want her to be in some kind of like superhero thing now, I think.
Yeah.
Because I think she has the personality for it. Like, she's kind of larger than life and really, really funny. We spent a lot of time on that question. We will do two more. Who wins? Oh, no, we have to do them both. Chanchan Nugent says, which live-action Disney movie would you want next? I don't know. He wants Atlantis: The Lost Empire. Okay.
Yeah.
And then follow-up is Chris XX. Who wins in a fight? The animals in the live-action Jungle Book or the animals in the live-action Lion King? We do not support Pokemon here
No.
at Screen Junkies.
Yeah.
But I mean,
That said,
Fandom.
but I mean,
Lion versus
yeah.
Tiger is one of the all-time great fan battles.
But there's like, there's like thousands of them in The Lion King, and there's like, 12.
I think you need to pick a champion.
Sorry, there's thousands.
It's like,
and there's like 12.
Mufasa versus Shere Khan, and I think Shere Khan takes it pretty quick.
yeah, you got Cher. Well, and then you got what's the ape that likes jazz?
King Louis,
Yeah,
right?
King Louis and his crew.
he's
They're
like-
pretty brutal.
He's like King Kong. Like he's the size
He's
of that temple.
huge,
Yeah.
I think he makes up for an unlimited amount of gazelles.
Yeah,
Like,
you're
I
in the
think-
jungle, baby. You're gonna die. That's how that goes. That's how that fight goes.
All right, that's it on that question.
And I'd also like a live-action Zootopia. Just do it like cats.
100%.
I was thinking of the Aristocats.
Oh, for
There's a
live
lot
action.
you can improve with the Aristocats. Leave the great ones alone. Don't do Pinocchio. Don't do the class. Stop the class. Do the ones that
need a fixing.
Aristocats. First of all, cats, adorable.
Yeah.
Don't do it like they're doing the
Live-action
movie
cats.
cats. Don't do it like they're doing not like Taylor Swift cats. Actual
Which is terrible.
No,
cats.
lean in. Make it even more scary.
Yeah, no, don't. No, Aristocats, I think you could do something fun and cute with. It would make $1 million. It'd make $500 million, and they'll have to stay afloat
suffer.
on that somehow. But yeah,
I think you could actually pull off a nice little bit of Mouse on the Motorcycle kind of, because they've done live action mouse movies and stuff before. I think you could do that with the Rescuers.
All right.
what about the Black Cauldron?
Yeah, that could use a fixin'.
I missed that one.
I just want to see a live action Fantasia directed by David Lynch.
Sure.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
obviously.
I mean, you win this.
Yeah.
Great.
Like,
I think you'll need to give each
Well done.
segment to a different filmmaker. Like Werner Herzog will do one. David
Yes.
Lynch will do
Yeah.
Oh my God, better.
So,
See, that's a yes
anthology
and.
Yes,
Fantasia.
Oh my
asking a lot.
God, yes.
Yeah. But yeah, live action Zootopia.
Things I'll never
Maybe just
get.
do it. Not even drop the animal thing. Like it's just Los Angeles. It's just LA Confidential. But it's like Judy Hopps. Hops, get in here. They're running drugs out of Inglewood.
or is it just Animal Bright? Zoo Bright.
Zoo Bright.
This cop is a rabbit.
I wonder how many movies
Starring an actual
become immediately bad when they're not animals. You know what I mean? Like when you turn a character from an animal to a human, how many movies are just immediately dumb, stupid tropes?
Well, apparently Robin Hood.
Yeah, Robin Hood is definitely one.
Yeah,
They
Robin
got
Hood
away
has
with
to
it
be an
'cause it was
animated fox.
It was a fox and some chickens and a bear and a lion. Like otherwise, it's just another terrible adaptation of Robin Hood.
Forget what you know. Ugh.
Is that Sherwood Forest? Credits.
I want Netflix to make my Fantasia and give them all $100 million for every section.
But like IP-free Fantasia?
yeah.
I like it because can't be Disney, so it's got to just be like a weird, non-specific. Like I'm into that.
I think we're just making the movie Waking Life.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Which is great. So we'll do one more, which is Ellie S. asks. Oh no, two more. They're very quick. Ellie asks. I think. I don't know. Can someone please explain to me how Obama follows Lon on Twitter? Can someone explain it to me?
Ask Lon.
He follows like 600,000 people. The account.
Wow.
He also follows John Roca.
Okay.
Oh, Obama does, not
Yes,
Lon.
Obama
Okay,
does.
Got it.
He follows Juwan.
He
our
follows
former
my
producer,
dad.
Juwan. Yeah, I think if you tweet at him or about him, they follow back.
Okay.
Okay. Obama's on Team Follow Back.
All right. Team follow back.
I mean,
really
Lon
want-
he's a big political tweeter. I see some politics stuff coming from Lon.
I mean, he
so
is
I
a
bet
prolific
He is a
tweeter.
prolific
On all
tweeter
things.
on all
Yeah.
things. Yes. in the world.
Sandwiches, soup.
I
Yeah.
just don't think it's that easy. Like,
Well,
I
those are
think
my favorite.
I think that's the simple explanation of something far deeper and follow down the rabbit hole about Lon. Like, what's he connected to? What does he know? I just think they're questions worth asking. I don't have the answers. Does he know who killed Kennedy? Maybe. Does he know how to get at them aliens at Area 51?
Is
Maybe.
he
Definitely,
is he
most
the
definitely.
Irishman?
Yeah,
No,
is he the
definitely
Irishman?
not.
Is Lon the Irishman? Is Lon a de-aged Robert De Niro?
I could just imagine. Do you guys watch Barry?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, then never mind. I won't spoil it. The season was great,
Mm.
and there's a scene where he's attempting to not do a hit. Oh, God. Okay, never mind. That
Off
went
camera.
nowhere. Lon as a hitman. I would like to see a quick interpretation of Lon as a hitman from each and every one of you, and then we will move on to our final question. And then we have an amazing video for you to watch.
God, you first, Joe.
Oh. So I guess we're just gonna shoot at each other with guns. Just sure. Third act, we get guns. Great. Every hitman thing, we're just gonna shoot each other with guns. I guess guns.
I can't do better than that.
Yeah, Joe nailed it.
My experience of Lon, and maybe this is just like
Taco sit.
Yeah, this is just like located to me is like you get energetic Lon. I get like sadly disappointed Lon most of the time. So like the tone that Lon uses with me is usually like.
I guess we're just gonna shoot each other with guns.
Why'd you have to snitch, man? Like, you know what snitches are? I got a stitch. It's film noir. And then he just shoots everybody. Freddie Apperly says, can you guess one another's favorite sandwiches? Favorite sandwiches.
I abstain from Dan because I know.
Dan's like a ham and cheese guy.
Well, yeah, I used to get a ham and cheese sandwich every day, so there's no
easy.
guesswork involved.
Yeah.
Although
Okay.
I have a Buffalo Club.
Ooh, branch out.
Yeah, I get a Buffalo Club.
Very nice.
Roth, I imagine you're not really a sandwich person,
I've never seen you eat a sandwich.
but like
No.
you'll probably go big when you actually complimented a deli sandwich I had once. So I imagine you're
Good.
like a piled high, like a roast beef or salami type person.
See, I was gonna go with like a banh mi and sprouts type thing.
All depends on the mood.
Yeah.
The truth, which
I
is
was
my
gonna
guess
go
for
like
you,
a
too.
like a gluten-free
Well-
open face.
I could do that too. I could
Yeah.
rock a gluten-free open face. My guess for Spencer is that you can't just have one sandwich. I mean, what is that?
Well,
Like,
I have two favorites. Like, is it my daily driver or is it my weekends?
Yeah. All right. So, are we including avocado toast?
No, that's not a sandwich. Come
Okay.
on.
All right. Because that's one of your dailies.
Ridiculous.
Wait, is toast with something on it an open face sandwich, or is
No,
it just
it's-
Where do we
Well,
draw
we-
the line?
No.
What's
We're
the
going down a
difference?
rabbit hole we don't want
Yeah.
to go down here,
No,
Joe.
that's
But I want to
toast.
know.
One thing on top of toasted bread is
But
toast.
Okay.
avocado sandwiches frequently have. They have the avocado. They have a nice little drizzle of oil, some chili flakes, and sometimes you
still
get
not
a
a
little.
sandwich.
Sometimes you get a little poached egg on there. Sometimes you get a little poached
That's
egg,
breakfast.
a little drizzle of Parmesan on that.
So it's a breakfast
There's
sandwich.
a world in which I could rock some salmon on that. I could do a little
I know.
salmon.
Yeah, you could.
There's a world
You
in which
could.
I could
You
do
could.
that. And at that point, I think we got a sandwich.
No, a sandwich
no.
is too.
Yeah. It's
Open
to be
face
double one
layer.
hand.
That's an open face sandwich.
That's a lazy man sandwich.
That's
means
how
I
we
don't
ran out
wanna
of
eat an
bread.
extra piece of bread.
I didn't want to eat my bread
Yeah.
butt.
I want
so
to eat
I'm
my
doing-
sandwich
yeah.
with a fork and not look like an aristocrat.
I'm going to say Chick-fil-A for Joe, and then we got to...
Oh.
I was going to say shrimp po' boy
Shrimp
for Joe. But you're from Kentucky, so no. That's more of a Louisiana, Nolans.
Yeah, you like a
Arkansas
pulled pork
type
guy?
thing.
I do like a pulled pork. I do like a pulled pork sandwich. I like Arby's a lot.
Nice. Arby's great.
Arby's is.
I
You
was-
know what? I should not be ashamed.
They have the meats.
They have the meats for sandwiches.
I was in the right arena. I just want to say
You
that.
were. No, you were.
You were
You were.
close.
You absolutely were.
All right, this guy.
So I have two. Weekdays or weekends?
Weekends.
Cuban
Not opposed,
sandwich
not
with
opposed.
pickles.
No, you gotta get a nice prosciutto. You gotta get a nice bread. You gotta get a nice mozzarella. You got a little arugula, a little balsam. You're having a sandwich. That's a
That's
weekend
a sandwich.
sandwich.
All right.
That's a Saturday sandwich.
Prosciutto.
But daily, you don't want to have the prosciutto on daily. You're going
Yeah,
a little
turkey
lighter.
avocado.
Turkey. It's delicious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was close with the avocado.
Yeah.
What is yours?
I don't
Is it
have
all mood
I-
dependent?
Yeah, 100% mood dependent. I don't really have a favorite sandwich. I could go I could have a nice pastrami and go big. I could do that. I could do I used to love an eggplant parmesan sandwich when I was a teen. That was as a teenager, but now it's pretty varied.
You know what it is about the Chick-fil-A besides all the other reasons is I don't like pickles, and you got to remember to tell them no pickle on my piece of chicken, and that's there's a little
just-
danger zone there. I don't want to have to.
You don't want to
yeah.
risk that.
Yeah.
There's no pit.
I don't want to live in a world where I got to be nervous and always be checking my.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because
Chicken
it's been
sandwich.
sitting there with
Yeah.
the pickles on it.
Then the
which
juice
happens
just
sometimes
seeps in.
then
Happens
the pickle
a
juice
lot.
seeps into the bun,
And
I can taste it.
because I'm a non-pickle person myself.
There are pickle people and non-pickle
Yes.
people, and I'm a pickle person.
Oh yeah,
I'm not.
All day long.
I am
I'm
not.
not a pickle person.
we can pickle that.
Yeah. That's,
No.
You want some deli?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I am not a pickle person. Deal with it.
Yeah.
So.
All right.
Vlasic Joe.
Do you know who is very, very, very
Spears.
solidly a pickle person? Mr. Ralph Macchio. And that is a notable, well-known, popular fact.
Loves
Weird
pickles.
brag.
He loves pickles. He's talked about it extensively in interviews over the years. I encourage you to try and find that on the
Roth,
internet.
before you transition, you said you would talk about your laptop.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, some people have been like, why do you have that? I can still see the logo. Fair enough and well observed. The only reason I have that is not to try and obfuscate the logo, but it's because we were at Comic-Con with twin computers everywhere and I was just trying to call mine out. That's the only reason. Now I can't get the tape off. Mystery
can't-
solved.
Can't get it off?
And this is straight moonshine. So, answers to questions. Cobra Kai is a show that Eric Goldman wants me to describe as one of the, quote, greatest things ever to happen. So, I think that's a sentiment Joe would agree with.
Seconded.
Seconded.
Hard seconded.
Hard second. He got to sit down and talk with the cast. Not Joe. Eric got to sit down and. I'm sorry. Joe was late. We tried.
You were doing actual karate.
You were doing actual things.
On Planet Karate.
We tried to get you into that interview, and then you were late.
So here we go.
I was not late. I was working.
Correction, madam. But it's
I'm fine and not still angry about this.
it is a great show from everything that I hear. You should watch this interview now to hear about why it is. And Ralph Macchio is in this interview. He likes pickles. That's what I heard on the
Famous
internet.
pickle enthusiast.
Oh,
yeah.
Ralph Macchio.
Notable.
Yes.
We should do it. Go to the.
Just roll the
yeah,
thing.
we should.
War never ends. Peace is just the lull between battles.
Hey guys, I'm Eric Goldman, and I grew up in the San Fernando Valley, which means that these people are representing my home as best they know how. Guys, Ralph, Billy, Martin, Tanner, Sholo, Mary, thank you for joining us to talk about the amazing Cobra Kai.
Thanks for having us, man.
Very happy to have you here. This show is so great. We are going to talk about spoilers from the end of season 2, but you've seen season 2, right? You should make sure you've seen all of it, then watch this if you haven't. The ending of that season, they went pretty intense. What was your reaction even when you saw what was going to happen in the final script and how it was all going to play out?
Yeah, we knew they were going to go in a direction that left things hanging and go and take a left-hand turn that nobody expected.
Yeah.
It was deeper and darker than I expected, even knowing it was coming when we read it all. Yeah. So it was pretty spectacular what they were able to pull off on our limited time and budget, and the amount of work and fight scenes that these guys did was incredible.
Martin, you made the appearance at the end of season 1, but fully joining the show in season 2, were you impressed by sort of the tonal shifts this show can take? Because it's very funny at times, and then it can get really intense. Were you kind of amazed how the writers are able to do that?
Well, they're so versatile. Yeah. So, you can't predict what's going on. And I was never able to predict when they told me to write the character with a versatility that was interesting, and we were going to be able to go up and down with his emotions, other than just what he played in Karate Kid 1, 2, and 3. And that's exactly what they did.
One thing we did like, though, I think, is that when we were turning the pages on that 10-page fight, is that we weren't in it.
Yeah, we had a break.
So we knew that we didn't have all this choreography to learn. We were going to be off the hook. We could come down with a coffee and watch
That's
these guys
right.
do it all.
That's right. And
there was
I
a little
wanted-
relief in that, but it was heavy to read.
Yeah, for sure.
You guys, Tanner, Sholo, Mary, you were involved in that fight. So what was that like? I know your showrunners have talked about it, because you did have a limited time and budget, but you pulled off something very big. What was it like to actually film that?
It was so rewarding seeing it on the final product, because there's a lot that went into it, and it's not just us, it's the cameramen, the stunt coordinators, everyone has to work perfectly like a big, nice, well-oiled machine. And I think the thing that always comes up is the oneer, this 80-something second 83 second shot. And I think it just goes to show just how much love everyone puts into this show, and I think it turned out well.
I had never done a fight sequence before, so I will say the whole patting myself on the back, seeing it done, it was more of like, holy crap, that's what we were shooting the whole time?
And then for you, Tanner, your character, he commits an act that will have some people well, actually, they're all pretty horrified, I think. But what did you think when you saw that? Miguel got it.
Accident. It was an accident. That's the one thing that I went to the writers right away, because I was like, but Robbie's still a good guy. This has to be an accident, because, Robbie's done so much growing. I just didn't want it to be thrown on him. It was just, he's just this bad guy, because he's really not. He's such a good guy. He would never intentionally kick anybody off of a balcony. At least he wouldn't admit it.
Right.
But, it was very, very surprising. I think it left great cliffhangers to keep people interested for season 3.
Did?
But there's a lot of cleaning up to do.
Well, that's just interesting about how it ends, especially for your characters, because I think if you polled fans and said, what do you want to see most for Daniel and Johnny at this point, they'd say, well, I want a full rematch, full fight. But they'd also say they want you to be friends, which doesn't quite match. Do you think that push-pull that's the fascinating thing? It's like, wow, they could be both the best of friends and obviously have been the worst of enemies?
Yeah, I think that's part of it. It's been set up in the writing, and that's what makes the show so complex, as we mentioned before. Those gray areas and the different but same elements that how similar Johnny and Daniel could be. They both have grown up without dads for the most part. They had senseis. They got into martial arts. One was dark, one was light, and so it feeds the enjoyment of watching these characters in each other's faces is equaled only by when they do get along, but they're like such a distinct odd couple. I think they both had good intentions in season 2, and then everything for the floor fell out for both of them. Right. So I look forward to those stakes and what we have moving forward, and where that could land.
I agree, totally agree. I mean, there's always something bubbling under the surface between them. They're kind of, that's why that fight happens so easy when he kicks the door in. They could try, but there's just so much they're both dealing with in their lives, trying to sort this out, although they're working through in their adult life, and the two of them, it's like it's just a matter of time before something's going to set off.
Karate Kid's 35th anniversary. I'm curious for you guys who joined this franchise. What has it been like for you to sort of see the power of this franchise at this point? How important it is for people? Has it been kind of amazing to become part of it?
I feel like it's such great things, like basically what you're saying, to Josh, John, and Hayden, our writer, producer, creators, who loved this thing, loved the original franchise. That was their. It might have been Twilight for me, but it was the Karate Kid for them, and that was their baby, that was their thing. They attached to it, they quote it nonstop. They have these insane references you would never be able to pick out if you'd seen it once or twice. They're just, it's their baby, they love it so much, and so they respect so much what they're having a part of, and so they make us want to respect it so much. They make everybody who's doing it, I've never for once felt like, oh no, I hope I don't upset a fan, because I just trust so much that what they're creating is meant for the fans, and it's made to appease those people, and it's made to also bring in a whole new audience to be new fans. And
then for you guys up front, it's obviously you long since understood that this thing had the staying power and importance to people, but has it been kind of amazing, 35th anniversary, no matter what, people would be excited 35th anniversary Karate Kid, but that you also are getting to do this new content and that it's so well received playing these characters?
Yeah, I mean, it is beyond our expectations, the embrace. I mean, I think we all felt the base was out there, it's just, and alluding to what I think Tanner was mentioning, and Sholo was mentioning, actually, the low expectations before season 1 worked very well for us.
Sure.
Very well, because all of a sudden it's now, okay, this is how you do it. What John, Josh, and Hayden have done is created the how-to book with taking a storied franchise and then finding the gray areas within the black and white of what that original was, and then diving deep into the depths of all these characters so they're fully realized, and like Billy says, like life, and then still have the heightened reality for the sake of entertainment as well.
What about for you coming back and getting to obviously portray a lot of different sides to this character?
I mean, I've lived with 35 years of I hate you, or I love to hate you, or you're such an a-hole, and there's a moment of redemption at the end of the movie. So it's nice, that people can empathize with the character. I think he's safe to empathize with because he's in the bottle, he eats bologna and drinks beer.
Sure.
So it's a cool coming back into the skin of him. He's still at the core the same guy, but it's 35 years of life, and it's kind of like real life, The movie was then, and this is now, and this is me now, and this is Johnny now, and so it's this harmonious, incredible thing that's happened with the show, and to have a movie that was 35 years, being celebrated 35 years later, and have a show that's current and relevant, it's a rarity, and I'm very thankful for it. Yeah.